So I wanted to tell a story about a time that I got arrested for false impersonation, but I got arrested for impersonating myself. Craziest thing you ever want to hear about. So I'm living in Oakland at the time, getting off work, fresh off work. Hard day at work. Was with my brother. I think I picked him up after work, or we worked like around the same city, and my brother Mario. And we're going to the store, went to the store, got a couple things. We're going to pick up the kids from daycare. And so when I got back into the car, as soon as I pulled off from the store, the police got behind me and pulled me over, Oakland police. Right. So, I'm not worried about it, because I have, license, everything, not anything that, I'd be worried about. And so the officer came to the door. As soon as he got to my door, he was like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "My name is Jamal." And he was like, "You have a warrant." And I was like, "There's no way in the world, that I have a warrant." He was like, "Yeah, you do. You have a warrant. You're coming with us." So, get me out of the car, handcuff me, take me to jail, take me to Santa Rita. Never been there before or anything like that, and I'm asking the officer the whole time, like, what do I have a warrant for? Like, what can I have a warrant for? You know what I mean? I'm racking my brain, and they're like, won't tell me, or, you'll find out, not, really giving me any information. So I end up in Santa Rita. I think I spent the night there, and then I got bailed out. I actually ended up bailing myself out, I do believe. So when I get, bailed out, they say I have to go to court in Vallejo, or, in Fairfield or Solano County, Vallejo. So it says, you've been arrested for false impersonation, you have to come to court. So when I go to the jail in Vallejo, and I get a copy of the police report. And the police report, has, the person's photo, and everything. And it says, you were arrested at like 10 a.m. in the morning, jaywalking, in Vallejo. So, at any weekday at 10 in the morning, I'm at work. So, I'm looking through the report. It says, person was jaywalking. The police stopped him, and the police said, "What's your name?" And they said, "My name is Jamal Coulter." And the police said, "Well, what's the birthday? What's the social?" And the person couldn't come up with the information. So therefore they said, "Oh, you're not Jamal Coulter. We're going to arrest you for false impersonation, impersonating Jamal Coulter." So they arrest the person, and they're in jail. Then they release this person, they fingerprint them, take their picture, release the person, but they release them as Jamal Coulter. And then, however long later, they issue a warrant for arrest in the name of Jamal Coulter. So that's how I ended up having the warrant. So when I figured this out, I'm super duper irritated, but I'm like, this shouldn't be a big deal. I was at work at the time. The picture is of someone else. The fingerprints are of someone else, and the crime is impersonating Jamal Coulter. So even if it was me, there's no crime. So, I go to court, I have my supervisor at work. They wrote a letter, stating that I was at work. I had my time sheets, from work, stating I was at work at the time. Then I have my ID and everything, to prove who I am, and I go to court. And I happen to bring my daughter with me to court. She was a baby at the time. So, when we go to court, I'm like, "Okay, can you guys, dismiss this?" And the prosecutor, this young girl, and she was like, "We're not going to dismiss this. We're going to proceed to trial." And I'm like, I have my timesheets here. It wasn't me that you guys arrested. You can look at the picture. They're showing the picture around to the bailiff, to the judge. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I think it's him." And the person in the picture, was a person, bigger than me, darker than me, and a chubby, person. Obviously, the only, thing that we had in common was it was a black person. But so they keep, pushing forward. I'm in there, throwing a fit, as much as I can. And I'm hoping that they would, put it to contempt of court, because then I would have to go in front of another judge, and they would be like, "Well, what is he here for anyway?" But they wouldn't do that, and they just said, "Well, we're going to trial. So I keep having to go back to court a couple of times. I talked to the prosecutor outside the courtroom, and I'm like, this is not me. And I said, even if it is, how am I impersonating myself? And she was like, outside the court, off the record, she was like, oh, I think you know who it is. And I was like, even if I did know who it is, you guys have this person's picture and fingerprints and everything like that. So what would you be prosecuting me for? Like, I work, I have kids. Why would you be trying to destroy my life over something that I had nothing to do with? And she had no good answer except that, she was going to proceed to trial. So the next time I went to court, I had my mom, go with me. And she was saying the same thing, this is my son, Jamal Coulter, this is him, she was going to court to, identify me. But the problem was they didn't care. They didn't care who it was. It was just the whole process of getting someone, put in jail. Period. So once I, saw that they were going to, go to trial, I was going to actually go to trial, and I'm supposed to start picking a jury and everything. And I had seen before when I had went to court one of the previous times that's how they had, put someone else in contempt of court because he didn't have the correct instructions for jury or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to just go ahead and get a lawyer. So once, we secured a lawyer, and I told the lawyer the whole situation, and he made a phone call, and he called the prosecutor's office. Went to court the next time, and the prosecutor, lawyer didn't even come to court. Prosecutor came into court and said, oh, we want to drop all charges. And I'm asking, and they're just trying to dismiss everything. And I'm like, well, what was the crime anyway? Even if I had pled guilty, I would plead guilty to impersonating myself. And I kept saying, what is the crime? And it was just, it was just such a frustrating situation and just so crazy. And I just couldn't even believe it that they know that this information, that the person they arrested wasn't me. If it was me, then the crime was impersonating Jamal Coulter, and I am Jamal Coulter. And so it just, blew my mind, and it was just, crazy. But, that's just, just my own identity being used against me just was, something crazy and something just I would, never get over. And just that whole justice system, it didn't matter to them, innocent or guilty. I was just a black man, and the place for me was in jail.